The umbrella and the stranded stranger. The rain pattered against the windows of Mercy Hospital as Olivia Mendez gathered her things at the end of her 12-hour shift. She tucked her stethoscope into her bag and waved goodbye to Nurse Peters at the front desk, her shoulders slumping with the weight of the day. As a paramedic, she had seen 3 cardiac arrests, a child with a broken arm and an elderly man who just needed someone to talk to. It was Tuesday, supposedly a quiet day, but emergencies didn't follow a schedule. "Looks nasty out there," Peters called after her. "Got an umbrella?" Olivia patted her bag. "Always prepared. See you tomorrow." The moment she stepped outside, the drizzle transformed into a downpour. She unfurled her yellow umbrella, splash of sunshine against the gray evening, and headed toward the bus stop. Her apartment was 20 minutes away in the less fashionable part of town, where the rent was manageable for someone on a paramedic's salary, 3 blocks from the hospital. Olivia noticed a figure hunched over the open hood of a car. The vehicle sat half on the sidewalk, hazard lights blinking pathetically against the darkness. Most people hurried past, heads down against the rain. A businessman quickened his pace, and a couple shared a glance before continuing on their way. Olivia hesitated. She was tired, and the warm embrace of her apartment called to her. But something about the dejected posture of the stranger made her stop. "Car trouble," she called, approaching cautiously. The man looked up, rainwater dripping from his dark hair. He appeared to be in his late 30s, with a day's worth of stubble and deep-set eyes that conveyed exhaustion. His clothes were ordinary, a navy sweater and jeans, now soaked through. "Something's wrong with the engine," he replied, gesturing helplessly at the car's innards. "It just died while I was driving. I've been trying to figure it out," but he shrugged. "Not much of a mechanic." Olivia offered him space under her umbrella. "Not much of anything right now," he admitted with a self-deprecating smile. "Harrison Thorne. Thanks for stopping." Olivia Mendez. She peered at the engine, though her knowledge of car mechanics was limited to changing a tire and checking oil levels. "I don't think either of us is going to solve this in the rain. There's a garage about half a mile from here that stays open late. I can walk you there." Harrison glanced at his watch. "You don't have to do that. I can call someone." "Phone dead too." Olivia noticed him tapping his screen fruitlessly. "Batteries at 1%, and of course I forgot my charger at the office." He looked genuinely embarrassed. "I was supposed to be at a dinner meeting 20 minutes ago." Clearly the universe had other plans. Olivia made a split-second decision. "Come on, I'm heading toward the bus stop anyway. The garage is on the way." As they walked, sharing the umbrella, Olivia noticed that Harrison carried himself with quiet dignity despite his bedraggled appearance. His voice was soft but articulate, and he asked her questions about her work with genuine interest. "Paramedic, that must be intense," he remarked. "It has its moments. Today I helped deliver a baby in the back of an Uber." She smiled at the memory. The father passed out, but the mother was amazing, didn't even scream once, just kept saying, "This is happening now." "Okay." Harrison laughed, the sound warm against the cold rain. "People surprise you sometimes. That's why I love my job. You see people at their most vulnerable, but also at their most resilient." When they reached the garage, the mechanic, a burly man named Jose, whom Olivia knew from various emergency calls, greeted them with raised eyebrows. "Olivia, rescuing people off the clock too?" She rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "Just doing my civic duty." "This is Harrison." His car broke down a few blocks away. Jose wiped his hands on a rag. "We're about to close, but I can send a tow truck." "Where exactly?" While Harrison gave Jose the details, Olivia noticed a small sketchbook peeking out from his jacket pocket, its edges damp from the rain. An architect's compass was clipped with the kind her grandfather, a carpenter, used to use. Jose handed Harrison a form to fill out. "Tow truck can be there in 15 minutes. We'll look at it first thing tomorrow." "I appreciate it," Harrison said, signing the paper. "I should get going," Olivia said, checking her watch. "My bus comes in 5 minutes." Harrison turned to her, his expression earnest. "Thank you, Olivia. Most people wouldn't have stopped." She shrugged, just returning the favor to the universe. "Someone helped me when my tire blew out last month." As she turned to leave, Harrison called after her, "How will the universe find you if I want to properly say thanks?" Olivia smiled. "The universe has my number." On impulse, she tore a prescription pad page from her bag and scribbled her phone number. "But just in case the universe loses it, here you go." She handed him the paper and hurried toward the bus stop, yellow umbrella bobbing against the darkening sky. Behind her, Harrison stood in the garage doorway, watching her go, the small piece of paper clutched carefully in his hand, like something precious found unexpectedly along the way. An unexpected proposition 2 weeks past, and Olivia had almost forgotten about the rain-soaked stranger with the broken-down car. Almost, but not quite. Something about his genuine gratitude and the quiet dignity with which he had accepted help lingered in her thoughts during quiet moments between emergencies. It was a particularly hectic Thursday when Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number during her lunch break in the hospital cafeteria. "Is the universe's favorite paramedic available for coffee this weekend? The guy you rescued from drowning on dry land, Harrison." Olivia smiled despite herself. She had expected a thank you text days ago, but not an invitation. After a moment's hesitation, she replied with a suggestion for Saturday, at a local cafe near the hospital. Before she could consider the implications further, her radio crackled with a multi-car accident call and she was back on her feet, running toward the ambulance bay. Saturday arrived with clear schiza, stark contrast to their first meeting. Olivia arrived at Bluebird Cafe 5 minutes early, her hair still damp from the shower after her morning shift. She wore jeans and a simple green blouse that brought out the flecks of amber in her eyes, but intentionally nicer than her usual weekend attire of sweatpants and hospital shirts. Harrison was already there, seated at a corner table with 2 coffee mugs. He stood when he spotted her, and Olivia was struck by how different he looked. Dry and put-together tailored gray slacks, a crisp button-down with sleeves rolled to the elbows, and the same thoughtful expression, now accompanied by a nervous smile. "I wasn't sure how you take your coffee," he said by way of greeting, "so I just got mine in an empty mug for you." "Perfect. I'm particular about my caffeine." She approached the counter to order, but Harrison gently touched her arm. "Please let me in. It's the least I can do after you saved me from a night spent sleeping in my car." When she returned to the table with her latte, Harrison cleared his throat. "I wanted to thank you properly. Not many people would stop to help a stranger these days." Olivia shrugged. "I see the worst and best of humanity every day in my job. I choose to believe in the best." "That's actually why I wanted to meet," Harrison said, his expression turning more serious. "I have a proposition for you." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "That sounds ominous." Harrison laughed, a warm sound that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Nothing sinister, I promise. Let me explain." He reached into a leather messenger bag beside him and withdrew a folder. "I'm an architect by trade, but lately I've been developing a community project." He slid several glossy photos across the table. They showed renderings of a modern but welcoming building with a courtyard garden and large windows. "Westside Community Health Center," Olivia read from the blueprint title. "This looks impressive, but what does it have to do with me?" Harrison leaned forward slightly. "It's going to be a free clinic for underserved communities. We've secured funding and property, but we need someone who understands emergency medicine to help design the intake protocols and train volunteer staff. Someone passionate, skilled, and with a genuine heart for helping others." His eyes met hers. "Someone like you." Olivia's coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. "Me? But I'm just a paramedic. There are doctors, nurses with medical degrees, yes, but what we need is someone who understands street-level emergency care. Someone who can think on their feet and train others to do the same." He hesitated. "The position would be part-time at first, allowing you to keep your current job if you wish. The compensation would be comparable, possibly better, depending on your current salary." Olivia studied the man across from her. His clothes were well-made but not flashy. Nothing about him screamed wealth. Yet here he was, talking about a multi-million-dollar healthcare project as if it were a weekend hobby. "Who are you, really?" she asked directly. "The night we met, you looked like any other stranded commuter." Harrison's smile turned slightly self-conscious. "I'm exactly who I said I was, an architect. What I didn't mention is that I'm a partner at Thorne & Blackwell Architectural Solutions. We specialize in community development projects." Olivia's eyes widened slightly. Even she had heard of T&B. They had designed the new children's wing at Mercy Hospital, a beautiful space filled with light and whimsical touches that made sick children feel less afraid. "Why me, though?" "We talked for 20 minutes that night." Harrison's expression grew thoughtful. "In those 20 minutes, you showed more genuine compassion than most people do in years of acquaintance. You stopped to help not because you wanted something, but because it was the right thing to do." He paused. "And when you talked about that mother giving birth, your face lit up with such joy at human resilience. That's exactly the spirit we want at the heart of this project." Olivia fell silent, turning the mug in her hands. The proposition was unexpected but intriguing. Her current job was rewarding but exhausting, and the idea of helping to shape something new, something that could help hundreds, was tempting. "I'd need to know more details," she said finally. "About the schedule, responsibilities, the project timeline." Harrison nodded, clearly pleased. "Of course, I have a complete information packet for you." He slid a thick envelope across the table. "The project headquarters is actually just 3 blocks from here, if you'd like to see it sometime." "You've been working 3 blocks away all this time?" Olivia asked, surprised. "The universe works in mysterious ways," Harrison replied with a small smile. They spent the next hour discussing the project, with Harrison explaining his vision for a healthcare facility that would provide dignified, accessible care to those who needed it most. As he spoke, Olivia caught glimpses of passion beneath his reserved demeanor. This wasn't just another corporate project for him. When they finally parted ways, Olivia clutched the information packet to her chest, watching Harrison disappear around the corner. The encounter left her with more questions than answers about the quiet architect, but one thing was certain: her life had just taken an unexpected turn, and something told her it would not be the last surprise Harrison Thorne had in store. That evening, as she pored over the detailed plans and mission statement, Olivia found herself drawn to the vision Harrison had laid out. Between the pages of technical specifications and budgets was a personal note and precise, Architectural handwriting. Sometimes the most important structures we build aren't made of concrete and steel, but of compassion and opportunity. I hope you'll consider helping us build this one. By morning, her decision was made. She sent a text to the number saved in her phone. I'm in. When do we start? The reply came almost immediately. Monday, 9 a.m. The universe thanks you. Olivia smiled to herself. This was either the beginning of something extraordinary or the most elaborate thank you gesture in history. Either way, she was curious to see where it would lead. Blueprints of Trust. Monday morning found Olivia standing outside a renovated warehouse in the Arts District, triple-checking the address Harrison had sent her. The building's exterior was unassuming red brick with large industrial windows, but a discreet plaque beside the entrance read Thorne and Blackwell Architectural Solutions. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the glass doors into a space that felt more like an artist's loft than a corporate office. Exposed beams crossed the high ceiling, and drafting tables mingled with modern workstations. Models of buildings at various stages of completion dotted the open space, and the walls displayed framed blueprints and photographs of completed projects. A young woman with vibrant purple hair looked up from the reception desk. You must be Olivia. I'm Zoe. Harrison asked me to bring you straight back when you arrived. She grinned. Everyone's curious about you. Harrison doesn't usually handle recruitment personally. Before Olivia could respond, Zoe was leading her through the workspace. Several architects nodded or waved as they passed, eyeing Olivia with undisguised curiosity. At the back of the main space, a glass-walled conference room housed a long table covered with papers, models, and coffee mugs. Harrison stood at a whiteboard, marker in hand, deep in conversation with an older woman whose silver hair was pulled into a severe bun. Harrison turned at their approach, his serious expression melting into a smile that transformed his entire demeanor. Olivia, welcome. He gestured to the woman beside him. This is Professor Eleanor Blackwell, my mentor and business partner. The better half of the operation, Eleanor quipped, extending a hand. Her grip was firm, her gaze appraising but not unkind. Harrison tells me you're the paramedic with the yellow umbrella. I'm glad you've joined our little crusade. Over the next hour, Eleanor and Harrison outlined the West Side Community Health Center project in detail. What had seemed like a simple clinic in Harrison's initial description revealed itself as an ambitious integration of healthcare services, community, education, and social support. The problem with most urban healthcare initiatives, Eleanor explained, is that they address symptoms, not causes. People come in with ailments directly related to poverty, poor housing, or lack of education, get a band-aid solution, and return to the same environments that made them sick. Harrison nodded. We're designing a space that houses traditional medical services alongside legal aid, nutritional support, job training, and childcare. A holistic approach. Olivia studied the blueprint spread before her. And where do I fit in? You'll help design the emergency response protocols, Harrison replied. But more importantly, you'll be the bridge between the medical professionals and the community, someone who understands both clinical needs and street-level realities. By lunchtime, Olivia's head was swimming with information. Harrison suggested they break and led her to a small rooftop garden atop the building, a green oasis in the urban landscape with potted trees and a small fountain. This is beautiful, Olivia remarked, unwrapping the sandwich she'd purchased from the cafe downstairs. Harrison leaned against the railing, his own lunch forgotten beside him. It's my thinking space. Sometimes I come up here at dawn just to watch the city wake up. You don't seem like the typical high-powered architect, Olivia observed. Your clothes, your car. That night, they're nice but not ostentatious, Harrison supplied with a wry smile. My father was a construction worker. He built other people's dreams his whole life and taught me that value isn't in what you have, but what you create. He gestured toward the cityscape. I could live in a penthouse, drive a luxury car, but what would that add to the world? Olivia studied him, seeing him with new eyes. So the broken-down car wasn't some elaborate ruse to meet people who'd help you without knowing your status. Harrison laughed genuinely. Hardly. That ancient Volvo is my daily driver. I keep it running out of sentimentality. It was my first big purchase after graduate school. His expression softened, though I admit, I'm grateful for its untimely breakdown now. Over the following weeks, Olivia divided her time between her paramedic shifts and the health center project. She found herself increasingly drawn to the work and to the team. Harrison had assembled a diverse group, united by their commitment to improving their city from the ground up. One evening, as most staff had left for the day, Olivia remained in the conference room. Surrounded by patient intake forms, she was redesigning. Harrison appeared at the doorway with 2 cups of tea. You're working late, he observed, setting a mug beside her. Says the man who's still here at 8 p.m., she countered, accepting the tea gratefully. Occupational hazard. Buildings don't design themselves. Olivia leaned back, stretching tired muscles. Neither do health centers, apparently, but it's worth it. I've been thinking about your holistic approach all week. Harrison took a seat across from her. Oh, yesterday we responded to a call. Elderly woman, diabetic crisis. Her apartment had no functioning refrigerator to store insulin. 3 days ago it was a child having an asthma attack in an apartment with black mold. She gestured to the forms before her. These people need more than just medical attention. Harrison nodded, his expression thoughtful. That's exactly why we're doing this. The healthcare system treats medical problems as if they exist in isolation, when they're often symptoms of bigger social issues. I've been thinking, Olivia said hesitantly, about the emergency transport system. What if we incorporated a small fleet of response vehicles? Not ambulances, exactly, but something that could bring care to people who can't reach the center. Harrison's eyes lit up. Mobile health units. That's brilliant, Olivia. They spent the next 2 hours brainstorming, their excitement building as the concept took shape. Olivia found herself drawing on years of field experience, identifying gaps and proposing solutions she'd never had the platform to share before. As their discussion wound down, Harrison leaned back, studying her with undisguised admiration. You know, when I hired you, I expected competence. What I didn't expect was someone who would transform the entire project. Olivia felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. I'm just building on the foundation you created. That's what good architecture is, a dialogue between vision and practicality. Harrison hesitated, then added more quietly, I'm glad the universe conspired to introduce us. Something in his tone made Olivia look up, catching his gaze. For a moment, the professional boundary between them seemed to thin, revealing something more personal underneath. The moment was interrupted by Eleanor, who appeared at the doorway with her coat already on. Still at it. You too. The building will still be here tomorrow, you know. Harrison straightened, the spell broken, just finishing up. As they packed up their materials, Olivia felt a new awareness of Harrison not as the architect or her employer, but as a man whose passion and principles aligned with her own. It was a dangerous realization, one that could complicate their professional relationship. Yet she couldn't deny the connection forming between them, built not on romantic notions but on shared values and mutual respect. Walking to the elevator together, Harrison asked casually, would you consider coming to the community meeting tomorrow? We're presenting the updated plans to local residents, and having someone from the medical field would add credibility. Of course, Olivia replied, though I should warn you I'm much better at treating emergencies than public speaking. Harrison smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Just be yourself. That's more than enough. As they parted ways outside the building, Olivia realized that in just a few short weeks, Harrison Thorne had shifted from stranger to colleague too. Something she wasn't yet ready to name. What began as an unexpected proposition was evolving into an unexpected partnership, one that might reshape more than just a building. Foundations built an honest community center buzzed with voices as residents from the West Side neighborhood filled rows of folding chairs. Many wore expressions of skepticism. They'd seen developers come and go, making grand promises that rarely materialized into actual benefits for their community. Olivia stood at the back of the room, watching Harrison and Eleanor set up their presentation. Harrison caught her eye and nodded encouragingly, though she could see tension in the set of his shoulders. This meeting mattered to him perhaps more than any of the high-profile commercial projects that had built his firm's reputation. These people have been promised the moon before, a voice said beside her. Olivia turned to find an elderly man with kind eyes studying her. I'm Dr. Reginald Porter. I've run a small practice in this neighborhood for 40 years. Olivia Mendez. I'm working with the health center project. Dr. Porter nodded. So I've heard. A paramedic, right? That's refreshing. Usually these projects are designed by people who've never set foot in an ambulance. Before Olivia could respond, Harrison stepped to the podium and the room quieted. Thank you all for coming, he began. I'm not here to tell you what your community needs. You know that better than anyone. I'm here to show you what we've designed based on your input from previous meetings, and to listen to your feedback. As Harrison outlined the project, displaying renderings and floor plans, Olivia was struck by how different he seemed in this setting, still composed but more passionate, less reserved. When he introduced the mobile health unit concept that she had suggested, crediting her by name, she felt a surge of pride. The real test came during the Q&A session. Residents didn't hold back, questioning everything from funding sustainability to hiring practices. Why should we believe this isn't just another gentrification project? Challenged a middle-aged woman in the front row. How do we know you won't build this beautiful facility, get your tax break, and then price out the very people you claim to want to help? Harrison didn't flinch. That's a valid concern, Ms. Rodriguez. That's why the center will be owned by a community trust, not by our firm or any private entity. We're the architects, not the owners. The trust's board will include elected community representatives. As the meeting continued, Olivia found herself called upon to answer questions about emergency services. Standing beside Harrison at the front of the room, she felt their partnership solidify in the crucible of public scrutiny. By the end, the mood had shifted, not to blind acceptance, but to cautious optimism. As residents lingered to examine the plans more closely, Dr. Porter approached them. I've seen a dozen development projects come through this neighborhood, he said, but this is the first one that actually seems to understand what we need. He extended a hand to Harrison. I'd like to be involved, if you're open to it. We would be honored. Dr. Harrison replied sincerely. Outside, as they loaded materials into Harrison's car, the same old Volvo, now repaired, rain began to fall, a gentle shower unlike the downpour of their first meeting. "Looks like we've come full circle," Olivia remarked, glancing at the sky. "Except this time I have an umbrella," Harrison replied, producing a folding black one from his car. He offered her shelter beneath it with a gesture that felt unexpectedly intimate. "That went well," she said as they walked to her car. "Better than I expected. Having you there made a difference. People trust you." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "I trust you, Olivia, more than I've trusted anyone in a long time." The rain pattered on the umbrella above them, creating a private world of sound. Olivia felt the weight of his words, the sincerity behind them. "Why did you really ask me to join this project?" she asked softly. "The truth." Harrison held her gaze, raindrops clinging to his dark hair. "Because the night you helped me, I saw something rare, someone who did the right thing simply because it was right, not for recognition or reward." He paused. "My whole career I've designed buildings meant to improve lives, but I've never met someone who embodied that purpose so naturally." The admission hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Olivia realized they stood at a threshold between professional collaboration and something deeper, something neither had anticipated. "I should go," she said, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. Harrison nodded, stepping back slightly. "Of course, big day tomorrow with the contractor meeting." But, as she turned to leave, his hand caught hers. "Olivia," her name was a question on his lips. She looked back, and in that moment, all the reasons why this was complicated. He was technically her employer. The project was at a critical stage. Their professional reputations were at stake, seemed to fade against one simple truth. What was building between them felt genuine. "Would you have dinner with me tomorrow?" he asked, not to discuss work, just dinner. Olivia felt a smile form. "I'd like that." The months that followed brought both progress and challenges. The health center broke ground in the spring, with the community turning out in force for the ceremony. Olivia transitioned to part-time at the hospital, devoting more hours to the project as it evolved from blueprints to physical reality. Their personal relationship developed, with the same careful intentionality they brought to their work. Private dinners, where they learned each other's stories. Weekend hikes where professional titles fell away. Quiet evenings reviewing plans that ended with conversations about dreams and fears. Eleanor observed their growing closeness with knowing eyes but said nothing until the day she found them sharing coffee on the rooftop garden, their heads bent close together over a patient transport schedule. "Just remember," she said, setting down a stack of permits, "the strongest structures are built on honesty. That applies to relationships as much as buildings." In late summer, as the center's walls rose from its foundation, Harrison invited Olivia to dinner at his home, a modest but beautifully designed house overlooking a small park. She had expected something grander from a successful architect, but the space reflected Harrison himself, thoughtfully crafted, unpretentious, with warmth in its details. "I've been meaning to ask you something," Harrison said as they sat on his porch after dinner, watching fireflies rise from the grass. "The hospital offered you the emergency department directorship last month." Eleanor mentioned it. Olivia stiffened slightly. How did she know? Dr. Porter told her. "News travels." Harrison studied her expression. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I turned it down," she said simply. "It's a prestigious position, but the health center is where I want to be." Harrison was quiet for a long moment. "I don't want to be the reason you pass up opportunities, Olivia." She turned to face him fully. "You're not. The center is my opportunity to build something that might actually change how healthcare works in this city." She hesitated. "And yes, working with you is part of why I want to stay, but it's not the only reason." The honesty between them had always been their foundation, and it served them now as Harrison took her hand. "I've been thinking about the future after the center opens." "About us? What about us?" she asked, her voice steady despite her quickening pulse. "I don't want our story to end when the building is complete." He met her gaze directly. "I think what we're building together might be the most important project of my life."